The following views expressed are those of the speakers and do not represent the views of DoD or its components.
Pay attention, because you are now listening to Permission to Speak Freely.
Identity months did at DoD. Guidance from the Secretary of Defense. Identity months did at DoD. Our unity and purpose are instrumental to meeting the department's warfighting mission. Efforts to divide the force, to put one group ahead of another, erode camaraderie and threaten mission execution. Going forward, DoD components and military departments will not use official resources to include man hours to host celebrations or events related to cultural awareness months, including National African American / Black History Month, Women's History Month, Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, National Hispanic Heritage Month, National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and National American Indian Heritage Month. Service members and civilians remain permitted to attend these events in an unofficial capacity outside of duty hours. Installations, units, and offices are encouraged to celebrate the valor and success of military heroes of all races, genders, and backgrounds as we restore our warrior culture and ethos. We are proud of our warriors and their history, but we will focus on the character of their service instead of their immutable characteristics. This guidance is effectively, immediately, right? And I read that as written. All right, let me go back a little bit. I remember a while ago, I think I was at CMC school. Yeah. I was at CMC. Maybe it was SCA, CMC school. And my brother, man, we had a big, like a blowout argument. Somebody call you in a gym and you take the call and then it it just mess up your whole workout. So I take the call and we just talking, right? It's hip hop, like some hip hop shit. He talking about Rick Ross and being a PO and stuff, and then that conversation led into a conversation about like who Kanye, like how did people identify Kanye? He had him as one thing and I had him as another thing. I think he had him as like a rapper and I had him as a producer. Meanwhile, like people identify Kanye as much more than that, right? The manner in which he went about this like debate just pissed me off. Like he was going around like talking to people in the street. And it was like weighted. So if the person agreed with me, he went on and said like more things to try to convince the person that, to agree with him. It was just bad. So then that led to, so when stuff like that happened, you start getting pissed off, So it led to like just bringing up other things that's just been deep, dark, inside of you for so long. So I brought up that he doesn't follow through with stuff, right? So I was like, yo, you start stuff, but you don't like ever follow through. I want you to follow through with stuff, man. And I said some stuff that I shouldn't have said about him, like based off where he was currently staying at the time. He was staying with my mom. And I like kind of said something real rude about that situation, which, was really in an ill manner. I was trying to like insult him because I felt like just the whole conversation we had, like it was insulting, like the way he was talking to me, like nobody talked to me like that. Of course your brother will, but nobody talked to me like that. People don't, like a normally respectful conversation. So I tried to hit him with a dagger. And then he told me, he said, hey man, like you don't even like control your life. You know what I'm saying? And it hurt. It was a dagger, and I fought back on it. I'm like, man. And the reason why he said it, he was like, yo, like your facial hair, you like, this, that. He was like, you don't have, like, it's somebody that tells you that you got to do all that stuff. You're controlled by, the military. And I pushed back on it. And a lot of, like my family pushed back on it and stuff. Like I've always, my whole life, I've been super like independent in thought, and trying my best since before the military to like be a leader in some form of fashion. So that kind of, it hit me, it hit me real hard. I'm like, man, I started a podcast called Permission to Speak Freely where, we kind of talk about how we feel about, these things and stuff like that. And he pretty much, some of also what he was saying was like, well, mostly everything you do or everything you've attained in life is kind of given to you by the military, right? So he's talking about like housing allowances and, like tuition assistance and just all of this stuff. Like, and I'm like, Dag, like you totally discrediting, my grind and things that not everybody in the military does this, or not everybody in the military, or not everybody that ever was in the military worked up to this position or had this work ethic, and then some of this stuff I had it before I joined the military. So I was definitely insulted. It was bad. It was bad for a while for us, man. I kind of iced him. I found out he went around talking to other people about the conversation because I said some stuff to hurt him too. He said some stuff to hurt me. But the thing that stuck out the most was he was like, they control what you could do and could say and your hair. And, I don't think that hurt more than like the money and anything I do is kind of funneled through that. It's all like most of it is the truth, and at least it's his truth, But I do want to touch on the fact that like the whole like they control what you could do and what you could say and your haircut and all of that stuff. Like that stuff, and it's something that, I signed a contract and I signed up for it, basically, right? So some of these things I really can't do nothing about but get out, right? And that's kind of what we were talking about on the last episode we did with JB, or James Ball, Lieutenant Commander James Ball. Like, hey, either, you kind of fall in or you get out. It's decisions you got to make here, right? All of that kind of ties into where we are right now. No, we're not at me getting out, but it's definitely been a hell of a week, right? Not just this brand new, drop on January 31st, the day before Black History Month. And there's some people that's saying like, the timing and all of that stuff is wild. But honestly, how else would the timing be? Brand new SecDef just got in office. The timing to me, I'm not really perplexed by it. Like it's the day before Black History Month. I'm not perplexed by that. I would be a little probably more frustrated if it happened like mid Black History Month, but I'm not necessarily kind of teed off by the fact that it dropped. I mean, dude's been in office for like a week or two or something like that. So some of these things gotta have processes, but if that's how y'all feel, that's how y'all feel. And this probably going to be pretty scattered feelings, right? People going to feel away, right? And I'm going to get to that in a little bit, but I'm going to go back to this thing real quick. Well, before I go there, let me go here. So the White House, by President of the United States of America, a proclamation, right? So it says, today I'm very honored to recognize February 2025 as National Black History Month. Every year, National Black History Month is an occasion to celebrate the contributions of so many Black American patriots who have shaped our nation's history. Throughout our history, Black Americans have been among our country's most consequential leaders, shaping the cultural and political destiny of our nation in profound ways. American heroes such as Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Thomas Sowell, and Justice Clarence Thomas, and countless others represent what is best in America and her citizens. All right? So I ain't even gonna read all this. This is President Trump's he did Martin Luther King, man. He ain't put Dr. King in here, man. But this President Trump's proclamation that we do celebrate Black History Month. Now I'm going to go back to this DOD release. So I brought up what my brother said. I'm going to read something else, right? And this is something that I'm getting from ChatGPT. Political and public commentary for per DOD Directive 1344.10. Military personnel must be cautious when making public statements, especially on official policy, leadership, or political matters. Even if your podcast is separate from your job, if you identify as a senior chief, your words could be seen as representative of the Navy, right? And yeah, so all the social media people, all y'all that think that disclaimer is going to get you out of the bullshit, that's on you. I kind of know that a little different. I know that to be a little different. And then I also know that I got a role at my command that could be influential in positive and negative ways, right? So I'm going to speak as freely as I can, but also knowing that I got like people at my command that listen. I got people at higher, institutional parts of our military that listen and stuff like that. But I am going to talk about this a little bit, right? I'm not going to shy away from having a conversation about it. It'd be weird if I did, right? And like I said to y'all, some of this going to be kind of scattered. I'm by myself. We weren't even going to pod this week, but a whole lot happened this week, so I do want to touch on it. So identity months did at DOD. First off, I think we could have went with a better title. Like that title is pretty like, I don't know, man. It just don't look like an official title that would come from the DOD. Like, so I think we could have definitely did a little different with that title. Guidance from the SecDef, and then it's a quote. Identity months did at DOD. It almost reads like they went up to him, like, hey, what should we call this? Identity months did at DOD. Then they went away and came up with this, right? So it says, our unity and purpose are instrumental to meeting the department's warfighting mission. I agree. Of efforts to divide the force, to put one group ahead of another, erode camaraderie and threaten mission execution. All right, I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to talk about my experience with like multicultural events and activities. So if you're not familiar with it, let's say like Asian Pacific Islander month or the month, right? So different commands do different things. So, one command might like highlight different Asian Pacific Islanders throughout the month, like over the 1MC or something like that. Just different things that they did, heroes and stuff like that, right? Easy day. And it might be in your POW, your PODs and stuff like that throughout the month. And then like this all culminates to an event on the MESDEX. And this event on the MESDEX, like normally it's whoever wants to come. And normally it's a mixed group of people. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes it's food there. A lot of us do come for the food because it's cool. It's like the only time, well, outside of whatever the CSs cook, is one of the few times that we get like those multicultural meals. And the ship is filled with a bunch of different cultures of people. So it's kind of cool to be able to eat the pad sit and the lumpia and the stuff that's cooked. A lot of commands and got away from like doing stuff like that too, like things that we see as traditional Black American food on Black History Month, because some people look at it like it could be racist and stuff like that. So some commands just, hey, whoever make whatever, make it. But I'm definitely getting lumpia and pancit mostly every single multicultural month. So that happens. So, and then like, even in that event, so Diomi would make like a PowerPoint with different people and different things that they accomplished. And then normally from what I saw was a mixed group of sailors, right? A bunch of different sailors, white, Black, Asian Pacific Islander, whatever. They would all have like get up and speak to the accomplishments of that hero. And then it normally like the CO would say something too. The CO might be the guest. CO always has some kind of remarks or something like that. You might have a guest speaker, an officer that is an Asian Pacific Islander descent, something like that. Always a cool event. We cut a cake, stuff like that. And it's normally for whoever wants to come. I never really saw in the Diomi produced slides, and my eyes could have just been tainted, but I never really saw anything that was like hate facing, meaning like, for me, I know that's not like a real term, but meaning like I never saw nothing that made that I felt like would make somebody else feel guilty. Right. I mean, I think in this case, right, just to not beat around the bush, I think we talk about like white Americans, right? I never saw anything there that would like give like white guilt, right? To use the Bill Burr statement. It was just more so about the heroic activities of this person, or maybe like they were the first person of this descent to accomplish this in the military or something like that. It was always something that normally celebrated the people, the valor and the success of the people. It never was divisive from what I remember. I do remember once I went to like this event on my short duty command, and it was a civilian that was talking, and he was from like this historical, community, like about preservation and stuff. Now he talked a lot, and I could see where it would establish a lot of guilt. Like I could see that. But outside of that, I never really saw that. And then also, some commands don't do it. Like, so the command I'm at now, we don't do months. Like we never did it. It's a lot of different reasons, but I work primarily with MAs, and we could never get all the MAs together at the same time. It's different watch. They on a Panama schedule, so 2-3, 2-3. It's different watches, different shifts. You got people on from 05 to 17, people on from 17 to 05. So we can never get everybody together to do something like that. We can't really put together like that, we it'd be harder to get a multicultural committee going and stuff like that. But there's other commands on my installation that used to have a multicultural committee, and I used to go and I would go through their buildings and I see some cool stuff about whatever month it was, like Women's History and stuff like that. It was always pretty cool. I never saw it like and been like, oh shit, Women's History Month, like that's super offensive. I'm a man. Like I never saw that. So so some of that language I just don't really understand. It always seemed like a cool thing. I do know that I do know people don't like it. One of the biggest critiques about it that I remember was people would say like people give more energy to the months they care about. So like, we got the multicultural committee and it's of course spread through different people. You might have more Black sellers on it than, any other group of sellers or something like that. And they might put a lot of energy in a Black History Month. Like, dag, y'all want above and beyond for Black History Month, but then we don't do nothing for American Indian Heritage Month or something like that. So that was always like a big thing as well. So some commands just don't do it to just be even around a board and not worry about that. However you choose is however you choose. I like both ways. I could go to sleep at night both ways, right? As long as we are celebrating, as long as we were celebrating the people that we were supposed to celebrate. So I'll go to this next one. It says, going forward, DoD components and military departments will not use official resources to include man hours to host celebrations or events related to cultural awareness months, including National African American Black History Month, Women's History Month, Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, National Hispanic Heritage Month, National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and National American Indian Heritage Month. Service members and civilians will remain permitted to attend these events in an unofficial capacity outside of duty hours. What's interesting in this to me is I don't see Pride Month in here. And I know Pride Month is a multicultural, is in that, it's one of the bullets or whatever. It's one of them that's in that group. It's another one too that's missing. I forgot which one it is. And I don't feel like pulling it up right now. But it's another observant. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Military, multicultural, cultural observances. And I hope I'm not giving nobody bait. Like, all right, yeah, I think it's right here. All right, so these are the ones that I see. Damn, Pride, I don't see Pride though. I thought Pride was in here. This is from National Defense University. So these National Defense University observances, DoD observances, say Martin Luther King Jr. birthday, National African American History, that's listed. Women's History, that's listed. Holocaust Remembrance Day and Days of Remembrance. That's not listed. Don't know what that means, if we still doing it, if we not, but it's not listed. Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, listed. Juneteenth, that's not on there. Women's Equality, National Hispanic Heritage, Disability Employment Awareness Month, and National American Indian Heritage. So Juneteenth and the Holocaust and the Days of Remembrance and Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday are not listed. I thought Pride was in there somewhere, but I don't know. But I'm looking at National Defense University website. There's probably a whole bunch of them, but I'm not going to be on this whole episode just looking up different websites to figure that out. So it says service members and civilians remain permitted to attend these events in an official capacity outside of duty hours. So can I invite my crew to my house to celebrate X amount of thing in an unofficial event if I invite everybody? Who knows, right? It says installations, units, and offices are encouraged to celebrate the valor and success of military heroes of all races, genders, and backgrounds as we restore our warrior culture and ethos. I need a more fleshed out explanation of that. Like, what does that mean? And somebody else might totally understand it. I get you if you do. I don't understand it. I need to know what that means. Installations, units, and offices are encouraged to celebrate the valor and success of military heroes of all races, genders, and backgrounds as we restore our warrior culture and ethos. So, does that mean like we could like have an event where we celebrate people, but it just got to be all people from all different backgrounds? I don't know. I guess the most fair way, and I was thinking about this. I'm like, what would be the most fair way to, like, let's say we did like pick a hero, right? So we put every single historical military heroes like name in a box, and we pick them out of the box, right? To be fair, so that we don't, you know, always pick, you know, the black person, or always pick the woman, or always pick the Asian Pacific Islander. We just put all of them in a box and we just pick them out the box. How often will we pull an Asian Pacific Islander out that box? How often will we pull a woman out of that box? How often will we pull a Black American out of that box? You know, in order to be fair, right? Blindly, just pulling names out of a box. And if we never pull the name out of the box, then we never celebrate those heroes, you know? And maybe I could be thinking kind of weird there, but you know, that's just my thoughts with that. Like how do you do it? You know, how do you fairly do that? Somebody help us. Because that's very, 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 very vague to me. I would like some assistance with that. So that's a question that I do have. Like, how do we do that? How does that look? Because if we then say, hey, we're not celebrating Black History Month, but hey, we recognizing a hero every week of this month, are we going to recognize heroes at this all hands? You know, and they happen to be Black heroes. Are we like secretly doing it then or something like that? So I would like to know more about that part, about how we encourage to celebrate the valor. Because can we do it? Because if we do celebrate the valor, can we do it using official resources or man hours, or not period? Like we just talking about like having conversations at the all hands calls. Like what are we getting at? What I don't understand what that sentence does at all. We are proud of our warriors and their history, but we will focus on the character of their service instead of their immutable characteristics. Yeah, I get it. What people, hey, y'all gotta forgive me because Saint isn't here with me because he acting crazy. It's early. It's kind of early in my house, for my house. Angelina and Amari still asleep, so I got Saint in the bed, in the office with me, just acting crazy. I had to pull him down because he was acting crazy. But immutable characteristics is like, you know, your race, your creed, your color, your gender, or your sex, or how, you know, however we saying it now. With those things, I don't know, man. Like people, especially like for disabilities and stuff like that. Like some people have went up against enormous odds because they were disabled, you know? And a lot of our service members eventually, you know, like not a lot, but we've had a number of service members become disabled due to our service, you know? So I question, hey, Saint, stop, man. I'm having an important conversation right now and you're doing too much. You're through. Yeah, like, you know, some of these things that's immutable though, they have a bearing on the accomplishment as well. You know what I mean? Like there was a time when nobody could do this, but this person was able to do this. They broke these barriers. You know, that's also, I think sometimes that's a part of the thing too. But Identity Month's dead at DOD. And then it says this guidance is effectively immediately, right? So come on, y'all, man. Y'all know people gonna scrutinize this thing, man. You gotta get that word right. You got it. Unless somehow that is prove me wrong again, unless somehow that is the right word. But y'all know people gonna scrutinize this thing hard. On to like how people feel about this. They not too happy, you know. I could probably find some comments on Facebook or something like that where people talking about like how they feel. Some people are elated, like some people are super happy. Some people, you know, were offended that people celebrated Asian Pacific Islanders. Like that made people offended. Like they were hurt. They felt like, they were being isolated. You know what I'm saying? I'm interested in that way of thinking. Like I'm interested in what would make somebody feel like that. That's pretty interesting to me. But yeah, some people was definitely pretty upset about that. So and I know some of them like, hey, why we gotta, celebrate this person? Why we gotta? So I'm stalling a little bit because I'm trying to find some like a story about this. Let's go Reddit. Let's go Reddit. Why Reddit? So no more lumpia during Asian Pacific Islander Month. Somebody says that alone should be grounds for mutiny. Somebody says every month is lumpia when you're married to a Filipina. Somebody says, does this also mean no more recognition of Veterans Day? Because last time I checked, veterans were a protected class. All holidays except President's Day and Memorial Day are removed. Columbus Day stays if we decide Italians are white. Efforts to divide the force to put one group ahead of another erode camaraderie and threaten mission execution. Somebody says, oh, we're definitely putting one group ahead here, Pete. Why don't you tell us who it is? Somebody said, what's the point of using dead like this? Words matter. This seems very weird, maybe even vindictive. That was what I thought too. Like I wouldn't have used dead. Somebody said that's lame as fuck. I like the camaraderie it would bring. Sure, some people scoffed at stuff like this, but most people were more than happy to participate voluntarily. I had to coordinate them at one of my commands as a JO. I would always bring in authentic samples of food and examples of each culture to each event. It was he said it was a blessing we had left. That's how I feel. Like we had a good time celebrating each other's cultures. Well, we on a ship for a long time. Like every single moment of life on a ship, we're not on mission. It's not like warheads on foreheads every moment. Like we got to do some things to kind of raise morale or have fun and celebrate each other. So some of those things like are things that we did. It's funny. I was thinking I was going to get a lot of mixed opinions, but some people are for it. There's some people that's against it. But I'm not seeing much of the fours, and I ain't about to dig, too deep. But yeah, so that's that. So it's going to divide people. So it's an aim to stop dividing people, and right now and in real time, people are divided about this aim to stop dividing people. So that's pretty much that. I hope I covered that as well as I could. Now let me go toward some like my week, right? Because man, what a week we had. I got some notes here somewhere. Let me pull my notes up. Oh, with all that said, happy Black History Month, people. Happy Black History Month. I want to shout out my command for installation excellence. We said it on our last episode. I'll say it again. We got regional installation excellence for the second year straight. We are competing for now CNIC. We also got retention excellence for the second year straight. So that's fire. Quick announcement. The Culture of Excellence 2.0 panel that we were invited to, if y'all could probably guess, it's canceled. The whole symposium is being restructured to a different theme. So that's done. Finito, changing it up, doing something a little different for that. It's going to be more SWO based for SWOs. So it won't be no junior enlisted or nothing there. We had a dope idea. I had invited Senior Chief Ashley Williams. We had Master Chief Amari Ponciano. We had Command Master Chief Aaron Paul. It was going to be Tish. It was going to be me. And our topic was leading with a warfighter mentality, right? I don't know what that got to do with anything that should have been canceled. Because I know we still talk about warrior toughness and warfighter mentality, and we are still using COE 2.0. But the shit was canceled. Honestly, I'm disappointed about that. I can't even front and act like I'm all 100% cool with it. I guess I understand the pressure that people felt. You know what I mean? This is what I was telling the civilians, and I'm going to get into that in a second. I was telling civilians that work on my job. I'm like, you got to understand the way like we look at things. And I was talking about the Navy, but it's probably the military as a whole. Is if, let's say that we get an order to organize the room, right? We're going to go in that room and we're going to get everything out of that room that we can move out of that room. That room going to be damn near empty, and we're going to do it as fast as we can too to show that we could get this shit done, So, hey, organize the room. Okay, everything's out of here. The room's down there empty and we got it done within 6 hours after you asked us to do it. So the room is organized, right? Really, we just took everything out of the damn fucking room. You know what I mean? And that's how we operate, man. That's somebody tell us to do something. Let's clear it out. Let's get it done, right? Culture of Excellence 2.0 panel canceled. Still waiting to see. We were invited to another panel like a week after that, directly after that. Still waiting to see what happens with that one. Wouldn't be surprised if that one is canceled as well, right? So earlier in the week, some news came out about this Tuskegee Airmen, lesson being taken out of the Air Force's curriculum, some training curriculum that they had. And I didn't necessarily like understand the headlines there because it was like this connection to President Trump, right? But I didn't personally connect it to President Trump, right? So, call me what you will, but I didn't personally connect that to the president. I thought that was like somebody at the Air Force just, again, taking everything out of the room, right? Without being told to do that, just being told to organize it, but just taking everything out of the room, right? That's what I thought. And people were going like, it trended really fast. You know what I mean? People were going crazy. Come to find out, the next day, it was like reinstituted into the curriculum. Like, easy day. We got the word, and I got a lot of thoughts about that. I don't even know if I could fully kind of draw them all up right now. I just think that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, Tuskegee Airmen are heroes, American heroes, historically, right? Yes, they were Black. That shouldn't be divisive. Like, that shouldn't cause anybody any strife. Like, that these Black men were heroes. Hey, maybe they overcame some odds that existed in a time of segregation and discrimination that was in our military. That's immutable. like you can't get away from the fact that they were dealing with segregation and discrimination. You can't get away from it. It's a real thing that happened. Hey, you know what I mean? It's a part of their story. It's a part of their success. You can't take that part out, right? You can't take the mentality part out. It's still there. It adds to the makeup of who they were as men. Where I grew up, the way I was brought up, it adds to the makeup of who I am as a man. It adds to the way that I consider people at my job, right? The fact I was telling somebody, like, I made music all my life. In order to make music, I had to people watch. I had to see things, right? I watched movies a lot. Movies helped me with romance. You know what I mean? Like, you build up who you are based off of the things you see and the things that you kind of put into yourself as you're growing up. A lot of your culture is a part of that. You can't get away from that. Like, hip hop affected, my demeanor at work, the way I was brought up. And now some of that stuff is not based on no color or nothing. That's just based on the way I brought up. But definitely being a Black American affected who I am as a man now, And that don't mean I hate people that's not Black though. That don't got nothing to do with it. It just added a little different seasoning to my style of doing things. You know what I mean? And as every individual person has different flavors, it kind of is what it is. Like, I got like bros that's white, right? Let me give you an example. It's a certain quality that my white, like that my bros that's white have when they married the Black women that my bros that's white that's not married to Black women have. Like, it's just a different vibe. Like, I sometimes I know, like, yo, this dude, like, his wife Black, man. I don't see nothing like racist or nothing about that. That's just what it is. Like, people like, it's who you are. Like, I don't know. I don't want to go too crazy there. But yeah, that Tuskegee thing really, it kind of weirded me out. And at that time, I was like, yo, the DOD didn't even say nothing yet. Like we just doing shit. Then I mean, spoke too soon because, here we now know. It's another thing that happened to me was this was a touching story. Me and my N9, right? So if you're not familiar, you're a young seller, you're not familiar with who the N9 is. The N9 is like onshore installations and stuff like that. That's the person that's in charge of like Fleet and Family and MWR and all of that, anything that got to do with Fleet and Family. So like housing, MWR, child and youth programs, child development center, all that stuff, right? And I ain't gonna go too deep in this story because it's personal. It's like personal things that's attached to this. But it was something about Black History Month decorations being up, but them being a fire hazard, so they had to come down. But in the mix of all of this, it was then confusion about who ordered them to come down and questions about, this and that. We find out that it's just a bunch of stuff happening at the same time. So initially it was the fire hazard. So then it was, hey, they could go back up. But then it was, no, let's put multicultural on hold until X amount of time. Then it was, oh no, we can, do Black History Month. Now it's officially from DOD. No, let's put it on hold. So with all of that said, it's people's emotions being affected. And we haven't even got to the like DOD letter because that came after we had the conversation. But long story short, I go over to our child and youth program with my N9, and he's a white man for context. He's talking to a mixed group of people, and they getting frustrated. Man, this dude walks out, and he was coming from the heart. Like like I appreciated the conversation he had. Man, he's a good dude anyway, good dude with a good heart. And people got up, man. I saw this dude get up. I thought maybe he was going to the bathroom or something. He never sat back down. Somebody went to go follow him. I guess he was frustrated. And sometimes people, we live in a time, I know people don't want to hear this, but we live in a time where sometimes people got to connect with people, so you got to break through that. And sometimes it's hard to, some people just don't connect with the person that's talking, which is sometimes is unfortunate, right? But we know that, right? We made up of a bunch of different people. So as things started to heat up and we started talking about different things that might not be happening or happening, and then somebody else, the director of the CDC, was saying like, yeah, we could still celebrate Black History Month, but it's just things that we can and can't put up because of the fire hazards. She was going on too for like 5 minutes, and I'm looking at my N9. I'm like, hey, are you going to say it? Because we had just got an email in the morning saying like, hey, this ain't happening, and he was like, well, it's still not confirmed. Right? He whispered to me. So then we had somebody else with us from region, and she was like, and she's, for context, African-American woman. She was like, hey, it's not going to happen right now. It's on hold, and we said multicultural. We said all multicultural was on hold. And then the tone changed again in the room. Eventually, I got to talking. I told him, I said, hey, y'all, I want y'all to kind of have some grace for me before I even start. Like, forgive me before I start, because I'm going to just talk from the heart. And I started talking to them, and I had, and I was telling them some stuff. And I ain't going to get into like what I was saying, but I will say that at some point somebody was crying. And the question the reason why they was crying, because they were asking a question. They were saying like, well, how am I supposed to like encourage my people that they are loved when it doesn't seem like the people above are showing them that, right? And they wasn't talking about like us. They was talking about above us. And I told her, I'm like, well, when and Dolly Parton kind of said it better when she was like, when it's raining, like we can't control the weather, but we can adjust the sails or something like that, right? We can't control the storm, but we can adjust the sails. And that's what I was telling the lady. If it's raining outside, it's thundering, storming, whatever it is, I'm in the house with my family, keeping them safe, putting my arms around them, letting them know I love them. So it's just that humanity piece like that, like nobody got to tell us how to love, one another. Those things, it's not like you could fucking rip as many posters off the wall as you want to take off the wall. Like, I still love you, you know? I'ma still wrap my arms around you. I'ma still embrace you. You know, I'ma still appreciate you for who you are. You know what I'm saying? And I still hope that you could appreciate me for who I am. And other than that, yes, we do this. I'm gonna protect you on the battlefield. I'm gonna protect you on the ship. You know, I'm gonna protect you when it comes to some paperwork type stuff and stuff like that. I'm gonna protect you all the way. But we got to take care of each other all the time. We can't expect nobody to tell us how to do it, and we can't expect nobody to do that for us. We got to do that. You know, and the other piece of the context I was giving them was to just ask questions, continue to ask the questions, because I'm telling you, it's some people that's not asking the questions. They just taking everything out the room. You know, there's nobody like, hey, can this stay? Can this stay? You know what I'm saying? So that's, you know, that's the context of that. Another part of that conversation, when we got closer to the end, and it affected me. It hit me a little hard. One of the people in there, she was like, I don't feel any different. Now, mind you, the room was full of, it was black people in there, white people in there, men in there, women in there, just different people, probably some Hispanic people. It was just different people, right? But they all seemed like they kind of carried the same sentiment. And a major part of that was that they had children, and that, like, it's the CDC. So they were talking about kids, and they had like some African American heroes they wanted to highlight for that month. They was talking, man. They started talking to me about like lunar months and stuff, like things that I don't even really know about. They were talking about medieval days, because they was like, well, medieval stuff could be cultural too. Like, they were just bringing up a whole bunch of stuff, you know. But one of the ladies in there, she was like, I don't feel any different, right? And you know, somebody else said something, and you know, and I thought about what she said for a while, and I was like, well, you're gonna feel, right? You're gonna feel. I don't think that nobody could stop you from feeling. Like, you know, like, you definitely have permission to feel. And I want to tell, like, everybody that, like, you know, all the sellers or whoever listen and stuff like that, if you still hear it, it's like a solo Damo episode. Like, I don't know how long people stay on these, but you're gonna feel, yo. Feel. Um, you know, if you upset, feel upset. If you hurt, feel hurt. Have an outlet, ask questions. You know, I think for a while, people gonna have different feelings. You know, that those things should exist, you know. Nobody should be trying to change that. You know what I mean? Like, there's ways that we can impact, you know, your working environment, your working morale and stuff like that. But you're gonna go home. You're gonna have your thoughts, you know, and even at work, you're gonna have your feelings. Have an outlet. Have people that you could talk to and do stuff. I remember when like Nipsey died, right? And I'm like, there's only like one like portion of people on the ship that really give a fuck that Nipsey Hussle died. You know, like, but we were like finding each other. It's like, yo, man, this is, you know, this rough, man. You know, and it was hard at the time. And some people like, who gives a fuck about that? And it was hard for some of us, man, because some of what he was talking about and where he was from and like what he carried, how he carried it. You know, so some of us were connected in that way. And I feel like he could have been a powerful voice for a lot of young people because they could relate to him. And, you know, one of the things he focused on was that book of Spook Who Sat by the Door. And I agree with that like infiltration aspect where it's like, hey, you could sit with the crooks, but you could bring them from, you know, crookedness into salvation, right? Or something like that. That's not the best use of words, but yeah, that's that. But yeah, so we were touched by that. So yeah, you know, like, Phil, you know, this thing should strengthen your core group, your work group, your division. You know, these things should do that, you know, and different people feel different ways. Not everybody is negatively impacted by these changes, you know? And some of y'all that don't, all I ask is for some of y'all that might not understand why your like shipmate or your coworker feels a way. I would ask you to just open up a space, you know, in like your heart and your brain to like give them some consideration, right? Whether you agree or disagree, you don't necessarily have to tell them they're wrong or tell them you disagree. You could just hear them out, right? I never totally agree with the, and I say it all the time, like how, it was this whole movement about women didn't want to be called females anymore. And I don't call women females. I can't say at core that I agree with the reasoning. I got 100 different arguments against that reasoning, but I stopped calling them females. To me, it just wasn't that big a deal, you know? And some of these things aren't. Like some of these things we saying they erode our military and all that. Some of these shits are not that big a deal, yo. Highlighting a Mexican hero in military history is not that big a deal. That's just my opinion. It's not that. It's not a showstopper. It's not making or breaking the military. White House says Trump isn't canceling black. Yeah, we know that. All right, so another thing that happened, just at my command was we were going through CART. We're going through the CART this year. This last week that just passed, we were going through CART. We did a pretty decent job at CART, and I really salute all my sellers that really put in the hard work for CART. We were actually going through our drills and stuff like that at the time. When like around that same time when I had to go talk to, it was like in between, like after the drills, like right going to the debrief. That's around the same time when I had to go talk to the youth center. But in the morning, I get to work. Oh, I got a random. What's the criteria for merit based? I need a criteria for merit based. Like, is it like you need to have X amount of experience to do a certain job? Like, what the fuck does merit based mean? You know what I mean? But that's neither here nor there. But let that shit sit. But yeah, so in the morning, for the morning of our ITT scenario, I'm going into work regular, easy, and one of the inspectors, first class from region, he has to get in there. He trying to get his radio. He trying to get a vest, and I'm like, hey man, what's up? How you doing? I like to ask people how they doing and stuff. That sounds funny. Like I like to ask people how they doing. And he's like, you heard about the plane crash? And I saw something about a plane crash, but I didn't know it was the collision. But I didn't know how like serious it was or nothing like that. But I like when I woke up, I saw something. He was like, yeah, it was a collision. Like Black Hawk hit a ship. A Black Hawk hit a plane, and they collided and it fell into the Potomac. I said, for real? He was like, yeah, down Potomac, right there, like right by J-Bab. He's like, yeah. And so I think we had 3 military service members in the helicopter. 2 who have been named now, and then 1 who is not named, right? 1 whose family asked to kind of like keep her name secured and not release her name at the time, right? So 1 of the soldiers. I'll get into the 2 soldiers' names that we do know. Sergeant Ryan Austin O'Hara, 28, and Chief Warrant Officer 2, Andrew Lloyd Eves. 2 service members who were on a Black Hawk helicopter when it went down in a fiery crash into the Potomac. And then I think for the crash, it was about 67. I could be wrong with the numbers. So over 60 in the airplane. I think 41 bodies recovered. Maybe more by now, but it was still 36 yet to be recovered from the site. So first off, thoughts and prayers for everybody impacted by that, all the families of the victims and just everybody impacted by that. Rest well to our service members that was impacted by that as well. I'm not getting into none of the blame game stuff or none of that stuff. Let's let the right people look into how we don't let something like that happen again, please. Right? I will kind of get into the timeline a little bit. It says at 5:18 p.m., American Airlines Flight 5342 takes off from Wichita, right, bound for Reagan, Washington National Airport. 8:39:40, the UH-60 out of Fort Belvoir takes off on a training exercise with 3 people aboard, flying up the Potomac and from the area of Langley. 8:40, the flight 5342 begins approaching the runway 33 from south of DC. 8:48, air traffic control tower radios the Army helicopter and asks, "Do you have the CRJ in sight?" The helicopter pilot confirms he sees the passenger plane and requests visual separation, confirming he's going to try to fly out of the plane's path. 8:48:56. So the last communication was at 8:48:38. So this is at 8:48:56. Flight 5342 and a helicopter collided over the Potomac at an altitude of about 300 feet as the plane was traveling about 145 miles per hour per the last recordings. From Flight Radar 24, air traffic controllers can be heard reacting and asking, "Did you see that?" So from 38 to 56, that's less than 20 seconds. That's less than 20 seconds. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, that's 18 seconds. Yeah. So reaction time there, I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't think he had enough time to take all appropriate actions to get out of the flight path of a plane flying at 145 miles per hour. But I'm not a professional there. That's just something I'm observing or thinking. But yeah, so that's the timeline right there. Sad. I mean, the helicopter was only in the air for about 10 minutes, for less than 10 minutes. Yeah, helicopter was only in the air for less than 10 minutes from what I'm looking at. Tragic, sad story, kind of echoed all throughout, the country. I think the president did speak on it a few times, I believe. Official statement, gave another statement, I think. Just a tragic story. Another reason for different people of different political kind of ideologies to argue with each other, which again is like we never find the right time to do that. I had a question on Facebook the other day about like parties, like why do we have the party system? It's really for like funding, for money, for candidates. I don't really see another reason. Me personally, like people gave some good reasons and good thoughts and stuff like that, but it all kind of still boiled down to money. Really, I think it's divisive. Just as George Washington did when they first thought about it. He was like, "Oh no, that's going to divide people." I think now people kind of pin themselves to that, right? It's no way you agree with every single thing this person says. It's no way you hate and disagree with every single thing it's no way. You got people out here calling like Barack Obama like a demon or like the worst person. Look like a pretty good guy, pretty decent guy, man. I heard about like the Jennifer Aniston rumors or something like that. I don't know how true none of that stuff is, but Barack seemed like a pretty stand-up guy for a long time. You know what I mean? Yeah, this guy is like the evil. like I don't understand that, but you know what I'm saying? But that's that. All right, so morning of cart, we get that. So the firefighters now, right? That's supposed to be a part of our cart, like ITT. They can't compete. I mean, they can't play in this scenario because they out doing real life things and dealing with this tragedy. Angeline taking Amari to daycare, she get caught up in traffic that's associated with this tragedy as well. Just such a sad thing, and like I hate to talk about like our life at the time that we lost so many lives, but life was happening, at that same time. So we got sailors out there drilling, ITT scenario, different stuff like that. Again, firefighters couldn't play. I think my sailors did a really good job, man. They really bust that open, man. Like they did great in that ITT scenario. So that was pretty much that. Some contingencies at the end, at the outbrief, how things are with stuff like that, some frustration, stuff like that. You know how those kind of things work. So we get to Friday. Oh, yeah. So Friday, now we supposed to do a Helen Bell for the Jag. We had a pretty late night the night before because of the drills and stuff like that. So, hey, I was talking to my captain. I'm like, "Hey, sir, man, you good? I'm gonna probably come in a couple hours later, something like that." He's like, "Hey, senior, just whenever you come in is, whenever you come in." I'm like, "Oh, cool." So get to work, easy day. Easy day. Some IA tasking stuff I got to do. I'm sick of those IA taskings, but some IA tasking stuff I got to do. For the young sellers that don't know what that is somebody wants somebody to go IA and they trying to pull from like your command and you need to make a statement about why they can't go, or you need to submit a name for somebody that could go. In this particular case, they needed a senior chief and they needed a primary and alternate. You had to submit a name. There's only 2 senior chiefs in my command, me and another person. So both of our names had to get submitted. And mom was like, hey, he the SEL, you know what I mean? He can't go. And then we had some reasons why the other guy couldn't go. So that was like the big thing that had to be done on Friday. Got it done. Easy day. Everybody in good spirits. So every Friday every day we do a morning call at my job. And every Friday on the morning call, I'll say like what like weird random holiday it is, right? Because it's like normally like 17 holidays every day and stuff like that. So I say which one it is, or I pick one of them to say. So this Friday that just passed, it was National Have Fun at Work Day. So, on a morning call, I'm like, hey, it's National Have Fun at Work Day, y'all. So have fun at work today. And somebody was laughing and stuff like that. And every time I try to stop this thing, because I think people don't care, I don't want to hear this, they ask me like, hey, how come you ain't do it this week? See, or something like that. So now I just realized I'm going to do it whether people like it or not, because every time I stop, people, and they might just want to hear me sound stupid and do this. Who cares? I'm going to just do it every time. So easy day. We were having a good time. CEOs in great spirits, especially coming off, like I said, our outbrief. We had some contingencies and stuff like that. So especially coming off yesterday, we were all in great spirits, getting ready to go and do the Helen Bill for our JAG. And then it was some bomb threats, like multiple bomb threats. And I'm only going to say what was on the news. Multiple bomb threats on my base, like over like 4 or 5 of them or something like that. It's crazy too, man. Just kind of with some of the inside stuff that I know. So we responded. It's crazy coming off a cart too. Like we just drilled on all of this. And then we responded, we had to evacuate our building, stuff like that, get off the base and, take care of the casualty. I thought it was cool to be able to connect. So the Chiefs got a chat and it started going crazy, right? And most of my Chiefs are MAs. So they don't ever get in the chat and kind of calm the storm. They got work, they got real shit they got to do. Meanwhile, I'm senior enlisted. I could do like something the skipper asked. I could find something to do. What I wound up doing was trying to make sure that I had comms with the Chiefs. I had comms with the CMCs, and I like gave them the most up-to-date stuff so they could be ready for what was about to be said and done. But the reason why I did that, at first I wasn't going to do that. I was just going to let the Chiefs go crazy, right? The reason why I did that is because things started to just be assumed and just a lot of stuff was getting slung that just wasn't true. So I said, let me just jump in here and like calm down these people. It's better. I think it's better for them to be calm than to just be in suspense. And they probably know and have known forever that like, hey, the MACs, they not going to say nothing throughout this thing. So eventually they're going to get assurance and stuff like that. But it's a lot of stuff on the base. You got the CDC, you got the youth program. It's a lot of things on the base. Parents got kids inside of these places. They want to know what's going on, right? So I thought it'd be good for me to kind of be that liaison between what's happening in our emergency operations center to what's happening with the Chiefs, with certain things being withheld to not like make people heads explode or make people go crazy and stuff like that. I think they did appreciate that, right? So I think they appreciated that. So that happened. And it was a evolution. It was my first. I've been at the command a while. We've had situations like this before. This is the first time that I've been on. I live like in the DC area and I work in Annapolis. This is the first time that I've been on the installation for something like this. And I'm happy that I was, because I feel like I added something that probably some people didn't see, but I added something that a lot of people could appreciate. And it also helps that when my MAs go to like different installations on a command that Chiefs are at, the Chiefs are prepared and they got things ready. My MAs, it was kind of cool when my MAs came back. They were talking to the captain. They was like, hey, we want such and such. And the chief that was there, it was almost like, he was ready. He had this together. He had this together. It's so much support. And it was because he was a SEL and I was keeping him in a loop. And he was calmer. It wasn't like this big panic or suspense. I can't give you everything. There's no disclosure or nothing that I want to give people, but I at least want people to not be panicked. Because I started seeing it, even like the regional, like CMCs and stuff knew what was going on. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta like talk to people, and it's probably better that way. So that happened. That was we didn't do the Helen Bell. Jag brought up coming in, the emergency operations, the EOC, and like, after a while when things started to mellow out, morale was a little different and stuff like that. I will say I was highly, highly impressed with my captain, I mean, captains, they normally have those moments, and I could tell just when we drill how he would be in a real scenario, and he lived up to that. Like he was incredibly like assertive yet calm, controlled the whole situation, the scene, knew what to say, knew what to ask, knew what to think, knew who to have at what places, who to put, in some, where they needed to be. He threw me on CDO real quick. I was going just, I was going just thug it out. I haven't done CDO in a long, like the last CDO I ever did was like RDO at somewhere, and we never, made the messages or something like that, the Navy messages. So I was going to thug it out. I was going to start making them messages quick, but luckily the actual like CDO, my watch bill coordinator came and he took over. I looked at my CEO. I was like, yeah, he got it. COC. All right. And I stayed keeping in contact with the CMCs. Let's put the right people in the right places. Put the SMEs where they need to be. And then I get home and my beloved city, Philly, we had a plane crash too. Right. And I was messing with somebody I know, right? I ain't gonna say who it is, but I'm like, you gonna blame you about to blame the president for that too, right? Then they got mad at me. Like, here you go. They got, here you go. Why you gotta? I'm like, I know you because I know you about to blame the president, ain't you? Like, and basically that's what they were about to do. All these planes falling from the sky down. Like, it's just a dark, dark time. Philly. So we had a Philly plane crash, 6 people on board. It was a pediatric patient, their mother, and then 4 service providers for the kid. I still don't have any information on what's happening. I got like at least 6 injured. Says at least 6 people were taken in local hospitals with injuries so far. 3 were treated and released. The rest were listed and stable. Okay, so they all good, which is good. But the plane just crashed like somewhere by Cotman Ave and Bustleton Ave near Roosevelt Mall, 6:30 p.m. last night in Philly, which was, just another crazy story. I'm happy for those people. I will say that. I'm happy for those people. That's all I got. But it's like, really, what a week. The Grammys is this weekend. I'm hoping Kendrick could get the Not Like Us Grammy and then go to the Super Bowl and perform Not Like Us too. That ain't a Drake hating reference. It's just a Kendrick happy reference. Let's celebrate that first solo hip hop artist to headline the Super Bowl. And most people I talk to, they looking forward to it. That beef has kind of ran its course. Let me know what y'all think about this episode. It's just me on here talking, venting, giving my thoughts. I didn't even get in contact with Tish. It wasn't even like a just planned thing. I just felt like I wanted to have a conversation this morning. But if y'all think that I should do these more, let me know so I could start thinking about them, and I could like draw some stuff out, write some stuff up, and stuff like that. I just try I always think like, hey, I'm gonna be organized and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And then it's like, nah, let me just come and kind of just give my heart, So just let me know. I'm interested in that. I thank y'all for rocking with us. When we first started this podcast and we named it Permission to Speak Freely, we wanted to speak as free as we could. We wanted to give opinions on things. We've been giving opinions on nav admins and giving opinions on official DoD releases since we started this podcast. We're not going to stop now. I am a little bit weary of what's to come when it comes to even like DoD unofficial, but service members having media outlets or social media and stuff like that. I do think that those things will not be protected for like in the near future. I definitely think that. if that happens, then we'll probably have to become a civilian kind of pod. I just don't think the pod's going away though. Like I just don't, who knows? Like they might say, hey, you got to get rid of this in every past thing that you did. I don't know. I don't want to get nobody no ideas. But for y'all that have been rocking with us forever, thank y'all. I appreciate it. And we see y'all the next time we see y'all. A pretty cool episode too coming up and planned. Oh, before I leave, February is going to be a weird month for the pod. This episode, for instance, random, not on video, boom. Probably, I'm still editing an episode from 2 episodes ago that I want on YouTube. That's coming out on YouTube soon. It's different. We doing some recordings on Saturdays. I don't know when those episodes come out. Y'all know it's Valentine's Day. Y'all know I gotta take care of my queen on Valentine's Day. And then her birthday is on the 27th of February too. So that's happening. Super Bowl next week. The Eagles in the Super Bowl. I'm definitely watching that. So it's just going to be sporadic, right? I'm not saying we going to like take a pause or nothing like that. If y'all like this episode and y'all tell me y'all like this episode, we definitely don't got to take a pause because I could record any day of the week and come in here and talk shit. But it'll be sporadic throughout time, throughout this month, just because of all the stuff that's going on this month. Y'all know I got to celebrate Ange. You know what I'm saying? But hey, love y'all. Peace be with all of you, man. And remember, we can't control the weather, but we definitely could control the cells or something like that Dolly Parton said. Holla at y'all.